Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horrific New Year. I was going to say horrific New Year. God's sake, that's a good start. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horrific review. And happy New Year to you all. Right, I think you knew how to do this as soon as it came out. So today we are doing Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers, a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and a terrifying vampire infuriated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. Yes. I've been looking forward to this, I have to say, and I was not disappointed. Seeing a lot of strange reviews coming out, and I don't know whether it's edgelords or kids that were expecting, I don't know, a slasher flick or something. I think this movie is a testament to old school gothic horror. This is something that relies on dread and menace and the idea of something as opposed to visual, you know, CGI thing that people battle. It's as much of a battle of the spirit and the mind as it is a physical battle. And I think a lot of horror has lost that today. And that's, I don't know whether it's culture or people have forgotten about corrupting forces and all that. And everyone's very literal. And I don't know, the mistake of, the boogeyman and the shadows sort of thing. I've noticed that with like current horror, like a lot of that's out the window. People don't really go for that. So I can understand folks that might not enjoy this movie because this is old school storytelling. It's using modern effects and camera work. This thing's beautiful looking, by the way. No if buts or maybes. It's typical Robert Eggers. He takes you into the world and he uh, invites you to come and join him for a while. It's that sort of thing. I can see where people would have a problem with it. Like that's the sort of thing I love. It's atmosphere, it's dread, and it's as much of a mind battle as it is, like I said, an actual physical confrontation. What he's done is he's taken the original 1921. Is it 1921? God, I can't remember. 1921, we'll say, correct me if I'm wrong, Nosferatu. He's taken Bram Stoker's Dracula and he's sort of mixed those two together and added his own bit of flavor. So you can see the influences from both movies. So it pretty much follows the same story as Nosferatu. It's the beats are the same and the motivations are the same. What he's done is he's taken a bit of influence from Bram Stoker's Dracula, but removed the love story. This is not a love story, by the way. This is pure power, obsession, um, corruption, and there's nothing pleasant in this world. And it's the idea of that, an avenging spirit. So he's taken that, but while Nosferatu is a vampire, he's treated more as a demon in this. This is more of a force of nature. It's a demonic force. We're seeing the supernatural powers as opposed to the usual biting people turn into vampires left and right and center. It's not that sort of thing. Obviously, I'm going to avoid spoilers because it's just out and it's a great movie, in my opinion, and I don't want you getting ruined. But if you've seen, I'm imagining most people that want to go and see this are fans of the original Nosferatu. They're fans of Dracula. They're they're fans of the vampire. The not sparkly vampires, not lovesick teenage vampires, but actually proper monstrous, beasts of the night. That's what they're going to see, and that's what you're going to get. Eggers does what he does. He takes aspects of local culture. He takes a snapshot of the time and he shows it warts and all. You've seen it with the witch. You've seen it with the Northman. You've seen it with the lighthouse. Well, not so much with the lighthouse, but definitely the witch and the Northman. That sort of look that he takes, and like pagan ritual. In this case, there's gypsy ritual. There's um, dark magic involved. He takes that aspect and he brings it to life, and it's not glossed over. It's not prettied up. You're in for a harrowing ride. This is a movie you need patience with. People like me will enjoy it, but if you're going expecting an action flick, if you're expecting Bram Stoker's Dracula, for example, you're going to be disappointed. Um, this is not what that is. This is atmosphere, dread. It's the idea of something. It's the beast lurking in the shadows. That's what it all plays on, and the battle for souls. I have to say, Ellen Hutter is the main character in this. It centers around her. I haven't seen Lily Rose Depp in anything in absolutely, I mean, decades, and she absolutely is brilliant in this. Like, she really plays the part. It's a really good cast, actually. God, who is it? Is in this? He plays a doctor. But Ralph Ineson. So if you remember Ralph Ineson from The Witch, and he's been in what else was he's in a couple of things with Eggers, but he's in this. He plays Doctor, and he's barely recognizable. He just embodies a role. Willem Dafoe in this is he's not playing Willem Dafoe, if that makes sense. He embodies the character. He's the learned professor who's aware of the dark arts sort of thing. He plays the character really well. It's actually a very restrained performance from him. There's a brief moment where he just goes all out, but even then it's still restrained. He's not taken over. He's part of this world. Nicholas Hoult can't complain. He's brilliant. Unless he plays his part. He's more of a point of view. He's more of a character this is all happening to, as opposed to being a willing participant. There's parts of the plot here that make it obvious. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but he's a simple, he's a shallow man. He's very how do I put it? He just wants the basics. He's all about social perception, that sort of thing. He's not an exemplary character, but I think he needs to be that because that's how he gets swayed and that's how he gets involved in a situation. So it's it's using his own fallibilities against them. But see it from the start, like it's the same plot. Like I said, it's Nosferatu. He's an accountant, solicitor, and like even for the job interview, he's late. That's especially in this period that tardiness is just not tolerated. But it sort of says a lot about his character. Bill Skarsgård is Nosferatu, brilliant. He really played it well, and he didn't take over. Like I said, this is not so much about the physical manifestation of Nosferatu. This is about the idea of evil, of demonic forces, of obsession. It's the in the shadows sort of things playing. So it could have been really tempting, especially when we get the final reveal and the amount of prosthetics and stuff used to have him front and center, which you would expect from a generic, normal horror movie. Even if you think about Bram Stoker's Dracula, Gary Oldman, he's front and center in his different forms, and they really showcased look what we have done. Eggers doesn't do this. And I think that's a sign of confidence. Somebody who's confident in their storytelling is like, yeah, I've put all this work in, but you're not meant to see it. This is all going to go in the background because that's the story I want to tell. And he avoided the temptation to have him revealed, even right up to the very end. It's not right out there, you see everything. There's still a bit of Count Orlok kept to the shadows, and it plays into, like I said, the whole premise of this is an idea, it's a force, as opposed to doesn't matter what the physical body looks like. But Eggers being Eggers, the detail's amazing. Skarsgård gives an amazing performance, really restrained in this. He holds back. He even at the start where he's playing the old man, the rasp in his voice and all. He really puts the effort in. So you get invested. This is a major slow burn. I'll tell you that it's a major slow burn. So this thing's over 2 hours long, and it's not in a hurry to go anywhere. So you got to be prepared for that. So if you're someone that needs flashy lights every 10 seconds, or everything spelled out, or the explosions going off, this is not the movie for you. This is the sort of movie that you take yourself into. This is one where you have to just enter into the world and just go along for the ride, almost as if it's real time. And I think if you go in with that mindset, you're going to really enjoy this. If you're going in with a mindset of, oh, this is a generic horror movie, or it's a creature feature, or blah, 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 you're going to miss the whole point of it. This is about battling forces. This is about your struggle within parts of your personality. This is all about power and subjugation and everything else. It's all that sort of range. A character that they brought in was hang on. Sorry, like I said, I'm just back, so I'll just need to Hutter's boss, Knock. That was an interesting name, yep. He's essentially the Renfield in this, just a bit in the context. However, he's a bit more subtle than Renfield. He willingly succumbs to the madness, and there's a few scenes in this where you understand it's more than just a vampire. That's what I'm saying. It's a demon. It's demonic forces. It's dark magic. That's all played with in this, and it's great. And it doesn't feel forced. It kind of makes sense if you're summoning something and you're dabbling in dark art. It actually goes through the whole process. The journey, maybe that could have been cut a little bit short, but this is Eggers indulging himself, really setting the scene. So Hutter, when he travels to Count Orlok's castle, a little bit protracted, but at the same time, you're trying to get the horror of the realm, and never mind Orlok being a vampire. The journey itself would be perilous if you're going from civilized society and you're going into the back wilderness of where you can't be reached, and you're meeting essentially tribes people, gypsy tribes, which were Central and Eastern European. They were the tribal people of Europe, and you're going in your suit and you're expecting it to be like the city. That is a perilous journey on its own. Now there was one bit where the carriage, you see it in the trailer, is heading up to the castle. That is a straight rip off from Bram Stoker's Dracula, with the wolves chasing it. That's the only bit of the movie, I think, where I felt, oh god, no, we're not doing this. But thankfully it's just one scene, because the rest is just, it's oppressive. It's an oppressive movie. You feel the weight of the darkness on you when you're watching this. And maybe I'm trying to think, because it's got people are either saying this is fantastic or they absolutely hate it. It's one of the Marmite sort of movies, which, let's be honest, that's pretty much Eggers' work anyway. You're either on board with it or you don't like it at all. It completely turns you off. So I get it. But that's sort of like a oppressive atmosphere. There's no good feelings in this movie. So if you're looking for levity or lighthearted quips, there's no comedic element. Like I said, I'm Willem Dafoe's in this, and you would expect him to be the comedic element, the sort of bit of levity to bring you down. No, even he understands what he's part of here, and he plays a restrained performance, and he plays an accurate performance. it doesn't feel like, you know, a lot of Willem Dafoe's performances, you feel like you're in the movie and then there's Willem Dafoe doing his thing, and the two aren't quite in sync. That's you know, it's an issue I have with his sort of performance. You know, he kind of does his own thing, and he always seems to be just slightly out of sync with whatever movie's in. Which, depending on the movie, obviously you can enjoy it or not, sort of thing. Perfect examples: Boondock Saints and Spider Man. The first one, you know, you can see his performances, and he's done a lot of stuff like that. But this, he understands the assignment, and I think he understands not to do this. That the story takes precedence over him, and like I said, he plays a great role. We we understand Hutter's character, Thomas Hutter. Like, he's a shallow man, and we also find out that Ellen, you know, we start off with Ellen having dreams and premonitions, so we'll understand that there's something more to her, and we can understand why they were married. You know, it's almost like she's been fobbed off because of it, you know, being a social embarrassment because of her malady, sort of thing. Why Thomas Hutter's married to her, and he's trying to climb up the greasy pole. So you almost think that he's been. It's all about status, and you know, like I said, there's a whole power dynamic, and that's part of it. You know, you're he's doing a favor by taking on a wife, even though he does love her, but you can sense that kind of he feels like he's been dealt a rough hand, you know, and at the grace of others, and he doesn't like it, and he wants to forge his own path, but there's something missing in him, and that becomes apparent. But the whole thing with him meeting Norlock, and we see it's like it's a simple transaction. It's the same as the first Nosferatu. What should be a simple transaction? Orlok's buying a house in Pittsburgh. It shouldn't be dread, but you get the sense that there's more at stake here. And with the signing the documents, and it's written in a different language, you know, an ancient language. So we've essentially got spell casting going on, and it's woven lovely into the storyline. So you've got that, you know, when Orlok refers to things as the covenant, you know, it's not a simple agreement. It's, you know, you're selling your soul to the devil, so to speak. You know, it's that level, and it's not overplayed. You can usually find a lot of people in the deal with the occult, and deal with magic, and they deal with sort of dark forces, not that they tend to make it hammy and cheesy and over dramatic. You understand what's going on here, but it's for like the Hutter, he feels the dread, but because he's who he is, he doesn't listen to his gut. You know, anyone else, your gut would be screaming at you, get the hell out of here, danger. You know, you feel it as the audience. And it's a simple signing of a contract for him to buy a house. It shouldn't really affect Hutter whatsoever. He's there to basically witness it, notarize it. But it's not, you know, that's the whole point. And then therefore the whole sequence of events takes place. Um I'm trying to avoid spoilers. I'm sure you can appreciate that. I, like I said, I don't want to go plot for plot, so I'm just thinking from the trailer. We'll have Orlok arriving in Pittsburgh. You see the sort of, you know, like his hand, you know, the shadow of his hand sort of over the city. He, everyone knows he's arrived. You know, he arrives with a wave of repression. He's not somebody who sneaks in lightly. You know, it's everybody knows. They don't know what, but Orlok's arrival is known, and just absolute chaos ensues. Once again, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's not just a little quiet battle. Um, you've got Harding. You know, the main characters are obviously the Hutters and Hardings. Harding is Frederick Harding, his wife Anna, and their two girls are friends of the Hutters. or more so, Frederick is a friend of Thomas, and we see the interplay going on there, which is important because it's all about like basically when things come to a head, it's the difference between Frederick believing and not believing, and people sealing their doom. And there's a confrontation, let's just say, between Ellen and Orlok, when we sort of get the reveal, and it's super intense. Like it's battle of wills, it's destiny, it's uh corruption, trying to break the uncorruptible sort of thing, and it all gets played out. And just these are simple scenes with a lot of detail. Like Eggers does is shots and that, so there's no green screen in this, there's no like big battles, there's none of that. Everything's subtle. It's all internal battles taking place. And the few times there are physical encounters, it's just brief, over and done with, and it's more about imparting the dread. There is not everything's done off camera. You know what I mean? When Eggers shows graphic detail, he shows graphic detail. He doesn't shy away from it. But he's managed to combine it with enough in the shadow that, yeah, here's what you're seeing, but here's what might be going on as well. And it's more, like I said, it's more than physical taking place. So when, as a vampire, he's eating someone, it's not just eating their body or drinking their blood, it's, consuming their soul. And you get that, Eggers does that really well with his setting up of the scenes and the camera work. And once again, it's what you don't see really plays in your mind. I miss storytelling, I guess. I have to say, this is the sort of thing I love. Don't get me wrong, I love your cheesy slasher and stuff as well, bit of a laugh. But I think this is just pure storytelling. This is what we're missing. And there's very few storytellers out there. Eggers is a storyteller. Like or loathe him, that's what he is, and he's going to tell his story. And thankfully, he's managed throughout his career is to have the freedom to do what he wants to do. He hasn't been bought by a major studio, because if a major studio was putting their fingerprints all over this, it'd be ruined. You wouldn't get even a quarter of what he does. And like I said, he uses graphic detail not for shock value, but for storytelling purposes. And that's the whole point, is that not everything's done off camera and, leaving up to yourself or hiding away. When he does show things, but it's with purpose. And if you're not used to that, especially, like I said, current filmmaking is so sanitized. It's so dressed down. It's so safe that you might have a problem with this movie. But I'm so glad it's made. Like, this is not disrespectful to the original, because at the moment it's just rehashes, reboots, remakes. Like, I think 100 years between uh iterations, because the Vampire Nosferatu, the 1971, was like a spin-off as opposed to a remake. I'll have to look at that one again and review it. But all he's done is take a tale as old as time and tell it, but it's not just going for it beat for beat. He's focused on a certain area and he's told it. And this is basically a game of cat and mouse. It's moves within moves, and Orlok isn't stupid. He isn't a mindless beast. He has purpose. And that shows with, you've got the people in the know that understand what's going on. You've got the rest of the city, completely oblivious, but also not unaffected by it. This is a force of nature, but it's intelligent. That's why demons are my favorite monster, if you've heard me talk about this before, because they're intelligent. I think as well, this is back to the old form of the vampire, as a creature. we've seen the vampire get diluted over the years, and it's become more of a sci-fi virus than an actual supernatural force, which is a shame because you've heard me talk about this before, that the vampire, the werewolf, the zombie, they've all been sort of mashed together into this homogenous mess, and you can't tell the difference between one or the other. And it's a bloody shame. And they've lost their supernatural origins in story. Like, we're talking about 20 years here worth of film has done this. It's not just a recent thing. This has been done over a long time. And it's lost the mistake, it's lost the danger. And this is going back to that. Now, is this a signal to, everything goes back to this? Let's do it, redo it 20 times. No, I don't want that. Eggers is one of these directors that pops up every so often. He doesn't overdo it. And he thinks about his next project very carefully before he'll embark on it. So Eggers is one of these people that every 5 years he'll pop up with a project and he'll make an impact. And that's the way it should be. If he tried to pump out a movie every year, it just wouldn't work. It'd just be horrible and diluted and he'd destroy himself. And we don't need that. What I'm saying is we need a mix. We need to go back and we need to tell stories, I guess, but we need to intersperse them with everything else. What we don't want to do is do this sort of genre to death that people get sick of it. I think we need to reintroduce people to storytelling again. That's my personal feeling, that we need to get people back to using their imaginations, because at the moment and I feel it too. I'm as much of a culprit as anybody else. When I'm trying to create or think of stories and come up with ideas, I find that I've lost quite a bit. Where 20 odd years ago, I still had a fully active imagination. So maybe I've accidentally let myself fall prey to it as well, where everything's done to you, done for you. You're relying on algorithms and AI, and you're expecting to be told what to do or what to think, or what to imagine. And that's the death of any culture or people. Once you stop imagining, once you stop storytelling, you're done. And that's universal. That's a universal human condition. Oh, there's Michael. Oh, Harry, man. Happy New Year to yourself. Yes, I did. I was looking forward to this. I was worried that it was going to be, disappointing. And Eggers is Eggers. Like I said, he's Marmite. You either love or hate him. He's just one of them. He's a storyteller more than a director. He wants to tell stories and he uses the medium of film to do it. And there's not many people like him, especially now. He's dime a dozen, or sorry, he's not a dime a dozen. He's the opposite. Uh, really is a unique individual, and glad he's out. Out doing his thing, and he has the ability to do it. Yeah, that's. I think that's going to be out before March. That's coming very soon. They're trying to bring the Universal monsters back now. I've covered a couple of news articles on this. They're linking it to that Invisible Man story with what's her face in it, but that was purely a sci-fi film. It wasn't so much, uh, like old school. The guy wore a suit at the end of the day. It wasn't a condition that happened to him. What was the other thing they tried and it failed? It didn't work. I don't think Universal's in a good place. Um, we'll see how it turns out. If it's as long as it's not 2010's Wolfman, we don't get that again. I think we'll be okay. I want it to be good. I want it to be good. I want to see, like I said, some of the proper old school like the supernatural aspect of the Wolfman. If you think about, Steve and I covered the Curse of the Werewolf, Hammer Horror one, with Oliver Reed. The idea that it is a curse, not a virus. It's an actual supernatural curse, and it takes love to break it. If they're going to tell the Wolfman story, that's a very specific story, and they need to stay true to that. And I don't think with this current, nonsense going on with story, movie making and entertainment, I don't think they want to tell that story because they're too bitter and twisted and, the misandry in it, so they couldn't have like true love because it has to be some sort of snarkiness introduced and stuff. It's weird. Like this one is it's a dark story, and there's nobility in it. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a nobility in it from certain characters, and it's the hero's journey, right up to the last. And this is storytelling that we need back again. If they do this with the Wolfman, not obviously not beat for beat, you can't copy Eggers. He is OCD, autistic, obsessive with detail. He's just one of them. He takes his time, and you can't copy him. But they need to go back to that human story, I suppose, because that's the whole point. It's humanity versus dark forces, and dealing with when the other realm intrudes in your life and how you deal with it. And it's back down to the humanity of love, bonds, fellowship, being true to yourself. Yes, it's done in the context of religion, but even if you're not it's religious. You can take the human story from it that drives us all. You're not betraying yourself, your ideals, to enjoy the story, and embrace humanity. The better part of humanity. That was the whole point of stories anyway, because the world, as you know, is shit, and it's always going to be shit. The whole point of these stories is to show just that little spark of hope and strength through adversity. And it's stories, I guess, is when you're having the worst time, you think of, and that's where horror is really powerful, as you're having a bad time, you think of a story like this, well, God, there's a demon, and all it took was to be truthful and love one another, and that got me through it, or just have a, strength within. That's all it took to defeat the monster. And you can translate that to your daily life, and you can understand we've lost this style of storytelling, and you can understand why people are so bleak and nihilistic and just giving up. Uh, something different as far as something different. Cool. I'll have to look that up. She was really good in this. On it, like I said at the start, obviously before you come on there. I haven't seen her in about 20 years, I think. And anything, the last thing I saw her in, and we had to check as well, is Yoga Hosers, which was an absolutely dumb Kevin Smith flick. Like that was daft as hell. And you can't equate her being in that to being in this. But holy crap, she really owns it. Like this movie is about her character, uh, Helen Hutter. That it's her character. She is the main star in this. There's no if, buts, or maybes. This whole movie is on her. If she had to give a terrible performance, oh god, it would have been awful. But that's something, as I've said that throughout the year when this was coming up, I trust Eggers. I trust Robert Eggers to get performances out of people. He just has that way about him. And if you ever hear the cast talking, especially the witch, they buy into this. They become part of the team. They work with the crew. It's not like stand aloof actors and sitting in their trailer. Like there's a particular scene in The Witch where they're by the river, and it's meant to be the bleakness of winter, but they had to go and pick all the rosebuds off the trees, or all the sap, the buds or something off the trees, because it was spring. And the cast is out with the crew. They're all doing it. Like even people who aren't in the shot all went out and did it because they believed in his project. They believed in getting the shot right. That they sort of buy into it. And like I said, the fact that Innocent's back and I think there's a few other people in this who have worked with Eggers before. You know, there's people that come back because it's him and they immerse themselves with his world. It was a, it wasn't Bill Skarsgård was in the North. That was the other one. Is his brother? Um, Not Alexander. Alexander is the older one. The younger brother. There's three brothers, isn't there? The Skarsgårds. I think it was a younger brother was in the Northman. So you can see the connections, if that makes sense. That you don't so much take a job with Eggers, you'd sign on to his vision. And I think he has a way of, never met the bloke, couldn't say, but from what I've seen, and I've seen a few long form interviews, which normally actors don't give. When they're doing the circuit, you know, this is for the like old school DVD stuff, you know, they're giving these sort of long form interviews. You can't fake that. And you get the sense of them buying in to the project. Talking of which, I want to say that this is something I want in physical media. And I hope Second Sight Films do a box set because I think this would be amazing to have next to The Witch. If you saw me unboxing that years ago, I want a special. I want a box set. I want the booklet. I want the cards. I want the special features. I want to know. I want just a collectible for this. Yeah, Bill Skarsgård is in this who played it, but it was his younger brother, wasn't it? Wasn't Bill Skarsgård in the Northman? I'm gonna have to look that up now. I could be wrong. Northman 2022. God, that wasn't even that long ago. Alexander, it was Alexander who played wasn't he in June? It was the older brother. Hold on. Northman True Blood. God, he's in. When's that coming out? Legend of Tarzan. God, that was it. Infinity Pool. Oh, it was Alexander? Right. Who was it? It was the older brother played. Oscar Isaac. Sorry, give me a second. Stellan Skarsgård. Yeah, sorry. The older brother, Stellan. Alexander's the younger brother. Bill's the middle one. Yeah, so like I said, you can see the connections, and they're, like I said, I think it's a bit more subtle the way that it's not your normal casting for an Eggers movie. Like he has to be sure of who's getting in, that they have to be on board. Like Willem Dafoe's a great example. He could have done the Hollywood thing. He could have went, well, I'm just going to be me. Like I said, he acts a certain way, and he's always just slightly off from whatever movie he's in. And usually, you know, you just enjoy him for being him. But here he was on board. He was invested in the project. So he's a good example of someone that, you know, could have ruined the movie by overacting and being himself, but he didn't. He was committed. Lily Rose Depp, like, I had no idea what she was going to be like. Honestly, I had no idea. She could have been great. She could have been terrible. Turned out she was great. You know, she really owned this, and fair play to her because, like I said, this was all on her. This is central to her character. That's a lot of pressure, and I think there was quite a bit of expectation with this. You know, not lie. I think we've all been looking forward to this. A Robert Eggers movie is a mini event. This was like Spielberg back in the day. You know, you think when his movies come out, it was like here's the next Spielberg movie. I think Eggers is more subtle, obviously, but it's that sort of that. I don't want to spoil it. Not strictly. He's not Van Helsing, so he's not. It's not a carbon copy of. I know, like I said at the start of this, he he took inspiration from the original Nosferatu, and he took inspiration from Bram Stoker's Dracula, but it's not a straight shot for shot. You know, he's Professor Ebenhart, he's his own character. I'll go with that, and there's more. It's not a straight vampire movie. There's more to play, and it gets unveiled as we go along. I'll say that without spoilers, if that makes sense, because I don't want to ruin it. But there you go. God, 40 minutes. That's a normally I only do these length of videos when I'm absolutely ripping on something and hate it. it's was this Flea said it's more difficult to lavish on a movie, especially when you're not spoiling it and going uh like plot for plot points. But yeah, this is really enjoyable. I'm glad I saw it. Well worth it. Well worth the hype. And yeah, it's just classic Eggers being Eggers. He's just storytelling, and if you're expecting something safe and sanitized, you're not going to get it this movie. If you're expecting an action flick, you're not going to get it. This is a slow burn, immersive, gothic horror, and that's what you're getting in for. So as long as you know what you're getting in for, you'll have a good time. If it's not your thing, then it won't be your thing. Don't know what else to tell you. So if you're not prepared for that, maybe wait till it comes out in streaming. There you go. Thanks again. Just I had to say this year. I was raging because in the UK it only came out today. It's only released New Year's Day. Everyone else got to see it Christmas Day onwards. It only got released here because we got screwed over again. But yeah, I wasn't waiting. There you go. Yeah. No, thanks for coming on, Michael. Appreciate you as always. And like I said, everyone else there is watching as well. You're always welcome to join in the chat. And so obviously, if it's a new movie, we'll avoid spoilers. So just be mindful out there. And yeah, there you go. Glad to have you on board. And just leaves me to say, until next time, keep updated with the channel, do the type of things, and remember to keep it creepy, keep it horrific.